Hello guys, my name is Balkrishna Srivastav and welcome to Code with BK. So in this video, we write C++ solution code for LeetCode problem number 7, reverse integer, which is this question. So before we begin, it is a request to please subscribe to my channel. So in this case, you are given an integer value x and you have to find the reverse of this value, and you also have to keep in mind the sign of the value, signed at 32-bit integer. Also they say, if after creating the reverse, the value that you find, the reverse value that you find is out of the limits, if it is less than the minimum, possible minimum that 32-bit can store, or the possible maximum that 32 bits can store, you have to return 0 instead, which means if the reverse is not possible, return 0. Okay, so we do this solution in two ways. In the first approach, we use the inbuilt library code of C++, very easy. And in the second approach, we apply some logic, some numbers, some strings to find out how we solve this problem. Okay, so the first solution is pretty straightforward. So I'm going to copy this function, okay, and paste it here. Okay, so the idea here is that I find the reverse of x as a string. Okay, so now if I have a string that contains the reverse of x, I can try to convert that string to int. If that conversion is possible, I will return the value. If that conversion is not possible, I'm going to return 0. And to do this conversion, I can use the inbuilt s2i function, okay, string to integer. So I don't have to write my own code. All right, before that, okay, I will have to find the string form of x. Okay, and even before that, I need to check if x is negative or not, because we need to handle negative cases properly. Check if x is negative. So I'll say bool negative is x is less than 0. Okay, so if this condition is true, negative is going to be true, otherwise it is going to be false. Okay, and then I use the absolute value of x. If this is negative, I'm gonna say I need minus x else x. Okay, get the absolute value of x, because I will need the string form of this x, which is going to be toString of x. Okay, so in order to find the reverse of a negative integer, we take the absolute value of that negative integer, reverse it as a string, and then append minus sign in the string, so it becomes the reverse of the negative value as a string. Okay, so find the string form of x is done, and find the reverse of x as a string. So I'll say string reverse of x is a blank. I will iterate from the last index, says length minus 1, I is greater than or equal to 0, I minus minus, and I'll say our x dot pushback, we have excess of I. Now we try to convert the reverse of x stored as a string, okay, back to int. If this conversion will be possible, okay, we will return the value, otherwise we return 0. So for this we use the try catch approach. Okay, we say the return value is going to be, if this was negative, okay, then I have to do string to integer of minus the absolute, minus of the reverse of absolute value. Okay, else I simply do s2i of the reverse string. Okay, so if this line is not throwing any exception, I can simply return value, because this conversion is possible. Otherwise I cache this as a constant std out of range, okay, and I return 0, because in this case, the conversion is not possible. Okay, and this is a solution. Borderline case is if this x is equal to the integer minimum, which is minus 2 to the power 31. Okay, this statement is gonna fail, because minus of x will be greater than what the range can store, because it is 231 minus 1. Okay, so we can handle the case for x equal to int 32 min separately, and for that you can do c limits. Okay, if this is the case, I know the conversion, the reverse is not possible, I simply return 0. Okay, because int 32 min, let me just print this. Okay, int 32 min, compile and run. So this is the int 32 min value. this one. If I do int 32 max, okay, so this is going to be the same value with -1, okay, 647 instead of 648. So anyways, the reverse of this value is not possible, because in that case the first digit would be 8 with 10 digits and a negative sign, which is obviously out of range. Okay, also when you try to find the absolute value of this, it will give you 2147483648 without the negative sign, which is greater than what maximum can store. Okay, again, the reason for handling 32 min separately. Okay, because this is not gonna work. Okay, so this code should work. Submitting this now. Okay, this is reverse. Okay, checking. Okay, case 1 2 3 is fine. Submitting. Okay, right, this works too. Okay, now this is making use of the inbuilt code, which is using this s2i function. Okay, because it is taking care of the conversion of string to integer, which we are handling with an exception here. Okay, so in our second approach, we don't use this try catch, we use the logic of numbers, making sure that the value that we are trying to convert or the possible conversion is within the range of minimum and maximum. Okay, so I'm going to comment this function. So in this case, what we do is we first count digits. Okay, so if you look at this output, okay, these are 10 digits. Okay, so if I have something less than 10 digits stored in X, the reverse will be possible in both negative and positive case. Okay, so if the number of digits in X is less than 10, okay, find reverse and return. Okay, we can write a helper function int get reverse, okay, int X. All right, so again we say negative is X less than 0. Okay, and I say this find the absolute value of X. Okay, then find reverse. Okay, and we'll use the loop method this time. We'll say int reverse is 0 using loops. So I say while X is not equal to 0, I'll say reverse equal to reverse into 10 plus the digit, which is going to be X% 10, and we do X by equal to 10. Okay, removing the digit, standard method. Okay, and we return minus R if this X was negative, otherwise we return R. Okay, all right, and here we know the number of digits are less than 10, so reverse is possible. Okay, because we are taking a check here. So to count num digits, we need to take care of negative. I'll say string, the same thing. Access is to string. Okay, int num digits is, if this is negative, then this is length -1, because minus sign will also be there in the string. So it is going to be access dot length -1, else it is going to be access dot length. Okay, so if num digits is less than 10, I will use this helper function, return get reverse, and pass X, and I'll get the value that I want, taking care of the negative sign as well. Else, this is the case for 10 digits, so borderline cases, you have to check if the conversion is possible or not. Again, this has to be handled in if this was negative. So if negative, else if this was positive. Okay, else if X is positive. Okay, so we have int min and int max, these are our limits. Okay, and if you consider these two as limits, this is the entire number line. Okay, we are given a value of X, of which you need to find the reverse of X. So reverse of X, if it falls within this range, keeping in mind the signs less than 0 and greater than 0, this reverse is possible. If it is outside the range, that it is less than the minimum or greater than the maximum, then the reverse is not possible, we return 0. So what I do is I find reverse of X as a string. Okay, the absolute value, or you can say a reverse of absolute value of x, okay, as a string. Okay, say this value is y. Okay, now there are two cases: if x was less than 0, negative, okay, or if x was greater than 0. Okay, y is an absolute value, so it's just going to be numbers, no sign. Okay, if x is less than 0, so the reverse will also be less than 0, so reverse will fall within this 0 to intermin if it is possible. Okay, so in this case reverse of x will be possible if the value y is less than equal to absolute value of int min. Okay, that the magnitude of the negative value falls within this range. If the y is within this range, okay, the magnitude of y, the absolute value of y, is less than equal to absolute value of int min, then reverse of x will be possible, otherwise it will be not. Similarly, if y, absolute value of y, the magnitude of y is less than equal to the int max value, then again this reverse will be possible. Okay, so we find reverse of absolute value of x, say that is stored as y. Then we have two cases: if x was negative or if x was positive. If x is negative, this y should be less than equal to absolute value of int min. Else, if x was positive, then y should be less than equal to int max, because in this case y will be having 10 digits. Okay, because less than 10 digits case we are already handling separately. Okay, and to do this checking, okay, we have both y as a string, okay, and absolute of int min and int max also as a string. Then we compare, we do this less than equal to comparison using strings, because y and this absolute int min, y and int max will both be strings. Okay, so I will write a function first. Okay, bool is less than equal to string a, string b. Okay, a and b are strings containing positive integers. Okay, because in case of negative integers we store the absolute value into the string. Okay, all right, we return true if the magnitude of a is less than equal to magnitude of b. Okay, return true if absolute value in a is less than equal to absolute value in b. That is the integer value in b. I'll just simply say, because it is already getting positive values. Okay, so first, if a dot length, this case will not be appearing, but still I'm going to add it. If a dot length is b dot length, okay, that is a has lesser number of digits than b, you already obviously return true because a will be less than b. If a dot length is greater than b dot length, so a has more number of digits, we return false. Okay, in our case these both conditions will not be checked because we will be sending cases for 10 digits. Okay, less than 10 digits we are already handling, still adding this so that we have a complete function. Okay, in case both have the same digits. Okay, so I will iterate both these strings, I less than a dot length and I plus plus. I'll say char digit a is a of I and char digit b is b of I. Since we are iterating both these strings that contain numbers from left to right, if digit a is less than digit b, okay, we know a will contain the smaller number, so we return true. Okay, if digit a is greater than b at any point, at any index starting from left to right, we return false because the value a is bigger. Okay, and finally we return true. All right, for example, if you can consider, let's take smaller numbers, say 2 3 4 8, and I'll say 2 1 5 3. Okay, this is string a, this is string b. As long as these digits are equal, we keep moving forward because the conditions are only for less than and greater than. Okay, in this index, at index 1, 3 is greater than 1, digit at a is greater than digit at b, so obviously this value is not smaller than this value, so we return false. Okay, if we take another example, 6590 and 6598. Okay, so this value is smaller, checking this index, Okay, same digits, checking this index, same digits, this index, same digits, this index 0 is less than 8, digit A is less than digit B, we return true. Okay, so basically checking if string A is less than equal to string B where both contain integer values, okay, as strings. Okay, so coming back to our point, we have to find our y in case of negative. String y is reverse of absolute value of x. So I'll say I'll need a function to find the reverse, right? So I can do string reverse string, and I'll say string s, and I'll use a code from here. Okay, find the reverse of s and return. So I'll say reverse of s, s dot length, okay, and s dot I, and return reverse of s. Okay, so y is reverse of absolute value of x. So I'll say reverse of absolute value of x is going to be to string, which we have already converted. I'll say xs dot sub str1. Okay, remove the minus sign from the first index. Okay, so for example, so if I say I have say 610, okay, if x was this value, okay, then your xs is going to be this value as a string, okay, because you're converting this x to string. Then xs dot sub str1 in this case is going to be removing the minus sign, this part, okay, and then you're reversing this string. So y is going to be 0 1 6 3 8 4 7 4 1 2. Okay, this is your y, which has to be less than equal to string form of int min. So this has to be, y has to be less than equal to this value. Y has to be less than equal to this value. Okay, so I'll say string absolute of int min is to string int 32 min, and removing the minus sign I do dot sub str1. Okay, so basically this will give you this value, this will give you this value minus this, okay, and then you sub str1, so you get this value. So y has to be less than equal to this value in order for this reverse to be possible. Okay, so if less than equal to y, it should be less than equal to absolute of int min. Conversion is possible, so we return get reverse x. Okay, else we return 0. Okay, similar, if x is positive, we find y is reverse string, and we don't need to do sub str1 because this is positive. Okay, then we find string absolute int max is int 32 max. Okay, and we don't need to do this sub str thing. And then the same idea, if y is less than equal to absolute of int max, reverse is possible, which we return, otherwise we return 0. Okay, so we used a lot of functions. So let me just check this, and we need to reset this. No, oh, I can just simply paste. Okay, okay, all the functions together. All right, time to test. Okay, time to submit. Okay, beats 100% again. All right, okay, so this second approach works too. All right, making sure that whatever reverse we are trying to find, the magnitude of that, okay, falls within the range considering our negative and positive cases. Okay, so this was the solution for LeetCode problem number 7. Two approaches. There is a third approach as well, where you are generating digits and you are creating a number, and then you check if adding another digit will create overflow or not. So we can do that solution as well. I've already done that solution. I've already explained that solution for the problem A to I in Java on my Hindi channel. Okay, if you want that approach as well for checking overflow when we are adding digits, let me know in the comments. I'll add that as well. Okay, all right. So this was the solution to this problem. I hope you like this video and this was helpful. So if there is any doubt, there's a part you don't understand, please let me know in the comments. I always try to answer all your comments. And you can also let me know in the comments if there's a question you want me to solve or if there's a concept you want to discuss. So please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and thank you for watching.